Good afternoon, everyone. We've got a couple late arrivals, so a few more people are just pouring in here. In the meantime, while we wait, welcome. My name is Chelsea Lambert. I will be leading this afternoon's session. If you'd like to enter into the questions pane or chat box any of the shows that you have either currently committed to or plan on attending this year, I can speak to those during the course of today's presentation. And we're going to get started here just about now. So as an Evolve the Law member, you may be seasoned when it comes to selling at conferences or just getting started. And so what today's presentation is going to include, and to tell you a little bit more about our relationship with Evolve the Law, Legal Tech Media Group is the educational, sales, and marketing partner for Evolve Law members. Please take full advantage of these services. We have our mastermind program call coming up on February 7th with my partner, Kathy Kenton. She's going to be talking about how to use metrics to win in 2019. We develop marketing strategies specifically around events or to launch products and services. We serve as an outsourced marketing department for some of our clients. And can also help you with that tactical execution if you get overwhelmed, especially around conference times where you might just not have a moment to get that email campaign out or write one from scratch. So I'm going to be giving you a ton of resources today. In fact, you'll get access to an entire course that includes downloads and handouts around the information that we're going to cover in today's session. So let's dive right in. My name is Chelsea Lambert. If we have not met before, which I think a few of us have, I've spent 13 years in this space at some point in my career doing north of 32 conferences a year, working the booth myself. So I come to you today not only as a marketer, but as a boots on the ground salesperson that has shown up at conferences and had 100 attendees when you thought there was going to be 1,000, and then has also been overwhelmed when I was the only person in a booth at a show of 5,000 people. So the strategies that I'm going to share with you today are part of a system that I created called Rock the Expo, and you're going to get free access to this for 90 days as part of your Evolve the Law membership. So I really encourage you, get in there and take advantage of this. This is a system that we sell for around $2,000. You've got handouts, you've got email campaigns, templates, all kinds of things that are going to come into play as you tackle your show schedule for this year. So first, I want to talk about the difference between converting a show lead, and when I say show, I mean a conference, a trade show. This could even be, a table that you have in the back of a room at a small event. The difference between an event lead and a regular lead is that you have the ability to qualify them in person. And I can't stress the importance of that enough. I can learn so much from body language, and I truly believe that it's much harder for somebody to tell you no to your face than it is over the phone. Over the phone, I can hang up on you. Over the phone, you can't see, me squirming and kind of like, leaning in or, putting my hands together, or, little pieces of body language that are telltale signs as to whether or not you're making that prospect feel uncomfortable or if they're going to divert because of price. You can literally read that in someone's body. And so having them in front of you and being able to qualify potentially hundreds or thousands of prospects at a show gives you an opportunity to sell on the floor. And this is something that I talked a lot about to our clients. Can you actually close business on the trade show floor? And the answer, it's kind of a trick question. The answer is yes. And then the second part of that answer is it depends on your definition of a close. Are we looking at getting contracts signed, or are we looking at booking meetings or demo appointments or capturing their email address? And so to that point, really what we're working on today is the process that goes from qualification of like, hey, I've never met you before. I'm going to jump in front of you in the middle of this trade show aisle, hand you a piece of swag like a luggage tag or a dog toy or something else along those lines, reel you into my booth, so I'm separating you from the noise, from the crowd, educate you about what my product can do for your practice, and then close you into my desired close, of whether that's a product demo that leads to a trial sign up or just the opportunity to demo it for you in an extended period of time. Maybe it's a chance to do a discovery call or set up an appointment to come to your office. It really just depends on what type of product you're selling, what the value of your services is. So this is going to be very different if you're selling a product that's $50, $60, $70 a month compared to a 5-digit investment or 6-digit investment. So it changes depending upon the number of commas that you might have in your product cost. So when we talk about this, it's the combination of physical action with strategy. And no strategy can be measured or event investment without a calculator, without some type of formula. So when you get into the course that I'm going to give you today for free, which is, I think 10 hours worth of training, sales training videos and template downloads and everything else. When you get in there, there is an Excel sheet that is event marketing ROI template. You can download that, and in here you can see we are giving you a formula where you will actually be able to measure the marketing ROI on events. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about what that means. There's a big difference between going to an event for PR purposes, and some events are solely used for that purpose, right? So my ROI on an event that I'm doing for PR or for public relations purposes is going to be very different than an event that I'm doing to generate leads. I'll give you 2 examples. Something like a legal week or a ABA tech show is going to be a blend of lead generation and PR. And when I look at the cost of PR, how much would it cost me to go out and get an article published, to have an interview done with a thought leader, to be mentioned in social media? How much would I have to pay for that type of PR? That in and of itself is a form of ROI for me as a marketer, because I don't have to take that out of my planned advertising budget. I can go do that show, I can pay for a booth, I can pay for a ticket, and I can get tens of thousands of dollars worth of PR exposure without having to pay for it, if I do it correctly. And so that might be your strategy for some shows. And for others, it will be how many leads am I generated, how many signups or trials do I generate, and then I'm going to extrapolate that information out through this spreadsheet to show how much did I spend on the conference, how much was my booth, how much did I spend on printing, what are the total number of attendees, how many signups did I get. And so this is something that I personally keep track of as a marketer for our own business and for our clients, that in every organization I've ever worked for, so that in the event that someone comes to me and says, how much money did we really make off of that show? Now I can tell you. I can tell you from a PR perspective because I can put a dollar value on everything that was published. I can tell you from a lead generation and a conversion perspective as to how many seats we sold. And I can tell you that my personal best, if you are wondering if you can close business on the floor, was a $270,000 ROI on a $30,000 trade show investment. If you have the ability and the team in place to close deals on the floor, and you have a contract value of a certain dollar amount, you can close that much business in 2 days, in 3 days. And then you have to worry about going back to your office and delivering it because everybody's exhausted, but that's a totally different conversation. So, and that's I'm not sharing that number with you to give you, a benchmark. I'm sharing that number with you because I know that it's personally possible, but it requires a strategy. And that's the next portion of today's conversation, is the strategy. So what you're looking at, this is kind of what I affectionately call the sales triangle or the power triangle of a conference. Now at the top of the triangle is going to be the back of our booth. And at the bottom of our triangle, this is going to be the aisleway. Okay, and we've got these 3 points. I'm going to work my way from left to right. Attract and qualify. So this is a person on your team. In the most ideal situation, you can work this triangle with 2 people. In an ideal situation, you have 3. And who goes in each station is going to be very specific to personality. The attract and qualify all the way on the left should be someone that is outgoing, should be someone that is, I wouldn't always use the word aggressive, but we can use it in this particular case. Like, they don't have a problem standing out in the aisle and asking somebody, are you familiar with the Legal Tech Media Group? Are you familiar with a particular piece of software? Have you heard about the changes that such and such has made? Nice to meet you. Are you having good morning? And handing them a piece of swag. Swag is not, people aren't going to hunt you down in your booth unless you have like something really amazing. Swag isn't something that people are going to naturally gravitate into your booth to get unless you've spent the money to do that. And that's really where, I get a lot of questions about swag, and it doesn't sell unless it's facilitated by somebody capturing that contact information. So what we do with swag is we're in the aisleway handing that out. And as we're handing out that piece of swag in the attract and qualify portion, we are saying, hey, can I just get 2 seconds of your time? Are you familiar with us? Do you mind if I scan your badge? So I'm going to give you this moleskin notebook, or I'm going to give you this Bluetooth speaker, or I'm going to give you this luggage tag, or what have you. And in exchange for that, I'm going to scan your badge. And what am I doing when I'm scanning your badge, or I'm asking you for contact information? I am buying myself another 5 seconds. I'm buying myself another 5 seconds to qualify. So the swag is used to attract, and then that buys you your next 5 seconds to ask them a qualification question. And we go into this more in depth in the course. We just don't have time to cover it within a 60-minute time frame today. So the qualify questions are questions that you should come up with before you get to the conference. So there should absolutely be a meeting between marketing and the sales team or the employees working the event. Great people to put in the attract and qualify position are customer service professionals, marketing professionals. Even I've had members of an IT team or even HR standing out in the aisle passing out information, because all they have to do is be friendly and hand out a piece of swag. They don't have to know the product inside and out. They just have to know what buzzwords or qualification and question answers are enough to bring them into the booth. And so here's where the transition happens. And if you can see the arrow on the screen, what we're doing is we're going into the booth to the closer demo station, and then we're coming back out. And so attract and qualify, I'm handing you that piece of swag. I'm qualifying you with those 1 or 2 qualification questions that tell me right away, and I'm going to get some of this information when I scan your badge or I ask you those questions. Maybe it's, what practice area are you? What size law firm do you work in? If you're looking at selling to a smaller or mid-sized law firm and they are in government, nonprofit, healthcare, you know right away, okay, thank you so much. I don't even need to scan your badge, and off you go. That piece of swag is what you are paying with to get their information that is going to tell you whether or not you're wasting your time. And I cannot tell you how important this is, because at a show of 1,000 people, you will be worn out after the first day if you decide that you're going to talk to every single person that passes by your booth. So find out in the shortest amount of time possible what they could potentially be a fit for in your product suite, and if it's nothing, then off they go. I would rather know that information than waste time trying to sell them something that they don't need. So in the event that they are a fit for your services, request politely, well, we have a really great solution for your type of practice. your type of firm. Be ready to go with that value statement and say, do you mind if I introduced you to, and here's where you move them inside the booth. And this is what this process does. It moves them to your closer, who should be at your demo station or who should be inside of the booth, where you're separating them from the noise. You're immediately elevating the level of seriousness of that conversation because you're bringing them into an area where they feel like they are going to have more attention. They don't have a bunch of people shuffling around them, which during a lunch or a coffee break can just feel claustrophobic at times. Do you mind, would you like a bottle of water, or do you have just 2 seconds for me to grab some information for you? At the top of the triangle, that's the back of your booth. That's where pamphlets can be, that's where your demo station can be, that's where chairs or a seating area to talk can be. And so you're bringing them back into that section to have a more qualified conversation. And if they're running to the next session, which is often an objection that you hear, okay, no problem. Can I get a time from you where we might be able to follow up with you after the show, or do you have time during the next break to swing by and take a look? I can put you on the calendar. And so what you're doing is, for people that are ready, you can move them into that demo station, do the demo, explain your product or service, qualify them further, set them up for a discovery call, whatever you consider that close to be. So coming back to that first portion of whatever you're considering that close to be, that should be what's happening inside the booth, not out in the aisle. Not out in the aisle where they feel claustrophobic, where they feel smothered by all the traffic around them. Bring them into a place where they can feel like they can breathe, where they're not being pressured. And so then what happens if they get to the closer and for some reason we didn't pull a piece of information out and we find out that they're not a fit? Or one of my personal favorites, this is somebody that loves to look at software and is going to talk for hours, and they tie up your closer. This is the purpose of the person on the right, the cool and cordially dismiss. You may have seen, I believe it was the movie Roadhouse, where Patrick Swayze was called the cooler. He was responsible for getting people out that weren't supposed to be there. And so just a little trip back in time, if you consider this person to be essentially your deflector of, it is my responsibility to politely dismiss them from the booth. So if you have somebody that's just really long-winded, they're not a fit, they just love having conversations at conferences, introduce them to this person. Really great fits for this role are like your VP of marketing, your product person who is very polite. In some cases, you'll get other leadership or management that's at the show that has no interest in really being part of that initial closing or sales or booking conversation, but they will have a polite conversation with them. Another example of this would actually be press, where we don't want to tie up our closer, but we want to make sure that they're taken care of and that they get their questions answered. And we don't know how long that conversation is going to take. So you always want to make sure that you're moving people through the cycle so that your employee who's attracting and qualifying and your closer are working and churning through leads and prospects and getting as much activity as they can happening between these two stations. And then anyone else who requires a longer conversation or who maybe isn't a fit and we need to politely move out of our booth is going to go in the cool or cordially dismiss position. So let's review. We're going to attract and qualify. Then we will move any qualified prospects to the closer. If they are not a fit, we're going to deflect back out to that right-hand triangle and cordially dismiss them out of our booth, or have that polite public relations conversation or conversation with a potential strategic partner, potential referral relationship. That's just going to take a little bit more time and isn't a focus for those two attract, qualify, and closer roles. So now objection handling. I come back to this quite often, that objections are rarely objections, they're actually complaints. So if you're getting objections within this process, don't immediately take that as a fail. Consider it to be something that maybe is driven by an underlying reason. Did they have a bad experience with their previous service provider, or do they hate the software that they're in and they don't ever want to buy something new? So dig a little bit deeper, make light of it, make a joke of it if you can, and bring some humor into it. I mean, again, we're all working, we're working, they're working. Be respectful of their time, and if they're just really hard and fast about not taking interest in your product, then try to find out why in a lighthearted manner. And then record those notes. And at the end of the day, remember that purchases and decisions are made to solve a problem or avoid a consequence. So don't be afraid if you do have somebody that's willing to learn more about the product, to ask them, what's going to happen if we don't put time on the calendar? When are you going to make time to do this? So you've already invested 5 or 10 minutes with me. Let's just go ahead and get a meeting on the schedule for next week, or register for the webinar that we have happening after the show. It's something that you can keep on your calendar. At least it's a placeholder, and if we need to postpone, then at least we've got you on the schedule and I can reach out to you to do that. And then if it's a problem, get their timeline and include that in the notes about the lead, so that you can prioritize when you get back to the office who you need to follow up with first. If we're solving an immediate problem, I cannot tell you the number of times that I've gotten lead sheets or notes back from a show and we have no idea who we need to prioritize. There's hundreds of leads that have come in because we were giving something awesome away, and I can't tell who put their business card in the giveaway box just because, and who's a legitimate lead that we could potentially close next week. So marketing and sales, this is why it's a partnership, is that you have to train and hold everyone on the team accountable instead of just sending them out to a show and nobody has a game plan. And that's what the back half of this presentation is going to be about. It's going to be about the game plan. And then lastly, one thing that I like to use fairly often is that money back guarantee. So if you are going to sell on the floor at the show, you can eliminate their biggest fear of making the wrong decision by giving them that money back guarantee. So I'm going to offer you a limited time price. Like, I can only give you this price if you sign up for a trial account or you sign up for an account today. And if in the next 60 days you decide that you don't like it, we're going to issue you a full refund. So it takes away, if you've got them to the point where they're ready to close or they're ready to sign up, lock it in with that money back guarantee, because it allows you to get those contracts on the floor and the ability to win them over in that 90 days before they have the option to cancel. So something that you can keep in your back pocket or run as an offer during the event. So inside of your course that I'm going to give you access to today, there are a few handouts. First is 3 sales techniques that increase ROI. We just went through a couple of them. So download this PDF, give it to your team, make sure that people take the course before they work a show for the first time. Every single one of my clients has gone through the course and taken this before they do a show. If they have a new salesperson or a marketing person come on, they're required to take a lot of the course material. So please take advantage of this and download the PDFs. Next, and what we're going to talk about is that pre and post show marketing campaign. So are you actively telling people, prospects, and other contacts, even on LinkedIn, filtering by geography and reaching out to every contact that you have, letting them know that you're going to be in the area? ABA Tech Show has a free an expo free pass. Really great way to set up meetings and appointments using that expo free pass as leverage. I know Legal Week has something similar. It may not be free at this point because we're getting pretty close, but if you're a vendor exhibiting at Legal Week, I know that there are special passes that you can get for prospects and ways that you can promote. And Legal Week discontinued their free pass because it was a way to improve traffic quality it's a really, really large show. So I know vendors were very happy about those changes last year and the year before. So pre and post show email marketing campaign. So the pre-show can be about announcements, visiting you at the event, special offers, or the option to set up meetings in a demo suite or other location that you should be running before the show. And then post-show campaign should be something like a webinar extension of that offer, again, that money back guarantee if they were to sign up with you during a certain period of time. And so inside of the course, you have a template that you can download that outlines what those emails should say, when you should send them, and the frequency that they should go out, as in 1 week after email 1, the day after a webinar. And if you can get a client, a prospect into a webinar within a week of the show, your likelihood of closing increases by 50%. So something to think about if it is webinar, if you can sell through a webinar, or you can get them into some type of educational session within 1 week of the event, you know who your hyper responsive prospects are. And so download this handout and it will give you a template to follow with some template content as well. So next is the training. So I'm really big on training staff and eliminating as many pieces of friction and as many variables as possible. If you've ever done a big show or even a small one for the first time and you were not on site to answer those questions, it can be an absolute nightmare. There are so many logistical pieces, and I channel my OCD into event preparation. So there's so many logistical issues. And it's also very similar to setting up a retail presence. You know, you walk into a retail store and you think about some of the favorite places that you shop at. Why do you like them? Because there's a certain feel, there's a certain flow. You know what to expect. And the same is true for a booth. If you've ever walked into a disorganized booth where stuff is just kind of like all over, there's half empty cardboard boxes and trash and you know, random seats that you can't tell if they stole from the cafeteria area or were included with the booth setup, it just doesn't feel inviting. And so what the need to know sheet is, which is also included as one of your handouts today, is a step-by-step guide for your team and yourself. And I can't tell you like how helpful this is when it comes to preparing for a show. What are some of the first things that people ask you? When are the breaks? You get that text message the morning of where everybody's busy and they're not paying attention to the phone. What address is the hotel? I'm staying at a different hotel. I don't know where to go. How many people are supposed to be here? What's our booth number? I don't know when their breaks are. It makes it very frustrating as an employee and as a manager for people to not all have this information ahead of time. It also does not start the day on the right foot from a sales perspective. So if if we have salespeople on the call today, or you are going to be the person working the show and you have a frustrating start to that first morning, you're not going to be on your game. And that's just the facts. Like, you're going to have to fight through that frustration. You're going to have to shake that attitude. Now I've wasted 2 or 3 hours of my morning where I probably could have closed a couple people or booked a few meetings. I want to make sure that no matter what, my team feels so prepared that when they look across the aisle at these other booths, they feel like the most organized organization that showed up at that event. And they feel proud to be there. And they know that we're on our game. And everybody has all of their information. I want them to feel like champions. And that's also how I'd like them to perform on the floor. So give them everything that they need to feel prepared. Even if they're not involved in setup, give them this document. Show how the booth should look so that they can make sure that it's tidy and use that extra downtime in between when people are in sessions to straighten things up and put things away. We want our booth to look the same at every single event, or at least function in a similar way. They should know what they're going to the show with if they're traveling. So you give them a folder, you give them this in their email, and a printed copy. I also put printed copies in all of our boxes. So yes, it's a little bit of extra paper, but every time they open something up, it should be categorized. And then, by the way, this conference kit, which in the course, it actually shows you how to build conference kits, and we keep them in bins in the office of what everything should have. So I always have 4 monitors, laptops, computer cables, and we double check that inventory every single time it comes in and out of the office. It comes into the office and leaves the office. So we know that we never get to a show and we don't have the cable that we need, and now we can't demo any software. We never get to a show and we find out that there's a piece of broken equipment. We never get there and find out that we can't put our booth together. If you're going to spend the money and invest in buying a booth or paying for an exhibit space at a show, you need to make sure that your team is prepared and can be the champions that you know that they are every minute, every day. And that's where this documentation comes in. So you've got one that's a 10 by 20. This should actually say 10 by 20. This is an example built off of ABA Tech Show. And then this is an example of a 10 by 10. So again, show hours, where it is, what your kit includes, where everything should go. So that diagram on the right-hand side is actually from the top of where we actually place things on the physical table. If we have a demo station, a little bit of an intro, and you change these very, very slightly. Like when I'm doing a bunch of 10 by 10s over the course of the year, all I'm changing in this document are the break times and the location and the name of the conference. And then what I'm also putting in here too is the contact name of the person on site. So if we're working with somebody at a bar association or there's a show lead, I put that contact information in there so that if something goes wrong or they have a question or we get there and we don't have electricity or they didn't assign us internet passwords or whatever it is, they have that information so that they feel equipped to handle whatever might come their way. So where can you dive in and get all of this for free? Here's the link, learn.lextechreview.com, and then it is the Rock the Expo course. You're going to use code ETL. That's for Evolve the Law. So use code ETL. This is free for the next 90 days. We typically charge $1,400 or $1,900 for this package and all of the sales training. There's additional sales training videos in there, ones that you can watch with your team. You can sign up as many times as you like, share the code with absolutely everybody in your organization. I highly recommend that anybody planning for or working a show needs to take this course. That is the purpose why we built it, because I physically could not go to all of our clients' offices and train them in person. Additional courses inside are the selection of trade show booths, placement of trade show booths, how to design trade show materials, the type of backdrops and kits that are available, resources for that. And if anybody has any questions, you can enter them into the questions pane right now, or you can email me directly, chelsea@legaltechmg.com. You can also schedule directly on my calendar. Always happy to chat. I know anybody getting ready for legal week next week is probably under the gun, rushing, trying to get a bunch of stuff done. If we can help with anything on that front, please let me know. In the meantime, enter your questions in, and that will be it for today. All right. Well, I know everybody's got busy schedules. It is first quarter, so between ABA Tech Show and Legal Week, there are a lot of people out there scrambling. I'll leave my information up on the screen. This session has been recorded, and your code, again, for Evolve the Law members to get this for free for the next 90 days, and all of the templates, documents, Excel sheets, Word, email campaigns, go ahead and go to learn.lextechreview.com and click Rock the Expo, enter code ETL, and you will get everything that you saw included in today's presentation and a ton more. There's so much in there, so please take advantage of it and don't hesitate to ask me questions if you have some. Thank you for joining me this afternoon, and we will talk again soon. Our next event is the mastermind call with Kathy Kenton. You'll be receiving emails about that. Please participate. It talks specifically to how you are going to reach your goals for 2019 using metrics. and have a great rest of your day.